Schindler's List. The other day, it marked the 25th anniversary of the film being released, and my local theater had a special couple showings of the film with a added intro by Steven Spielberg himself. And personally, I've never seen the movie before, and I think, trying to be a critic, it would have been a good idea to go see it, so I did with my girlfriend, and whew, yeah. So if you don't know, the basis of the film revolves around an Oscar Schindler, a businessman trying to make a quick profit during World War II in Poland, Germany, Austria type area, essentially. No need to get specific because I assume most of you are not massive geography people of Europe like myself. As in, I'm also not one. But it's him going through the business, going for cheap labor, which just happens to be Jewish people inside ghettos and concentration camps, and how he, over time, reverts his drive for it, his drive for life, and how he goes from being a despicable businessman to a man trying to do good in a world that at the time was just almost absolute evil, at least in his area of the world. And my gosh, is this movie hard to watch in a good way. Film speaking, this is one of the greatest films I've ever seen in terms of directing, art style, visualization, music. All these things are just perfect. What I mean is, when it's hard to watch, is that it's just hard to watch. There's executions and moments where, this is 25 years ago, like I said, and there's moments that beat any thriller or horror film that I've watched in years. And nothing happens. It's just my heart is racing and I'm so scared of what's going to happen because the film was kind of making me think that a certain thing is going to happen, and then it doesn't, and that sigh of relief, that's one of the heaviest sighs I've ever had in my life. There was a moment where a kid who I thought was going to get shot, which children are going to get shot. This is not, not a perfect, happy story. But there's one specific kid that I thought was going to get shot, and it was about 5 minutes of just leading me on a trail, and I was like, oh, please, no, don't. And then it doesn't, and that moment of, that's, the release of all that pent up, oh gosh, is the kid going to die? Man, I don't know another film that could do that to me. All the actors in this film are just phenomenal. You have Ralph Fiennes, who is Voldemort, but here he is killing it. Ben Kingsley just wrecking it, and then Liam Neeson is just a powerhouse. And at the end, I don't think I've ever seen a person who I've only known in my life as a guy who kicks butt action and stops people from getting taken. I never knew this guy had the acting chops that I witnessed in this film. Yeah, at the beginning he's just being a smoozy, essentially Bruce Wayne type person, but when he gets to the end, that end scene where he talks about his car and his ring, just, God, that gets you. And he's imperfect. That's what I really like. He's a douchebag in the beginning, really bad person, and even at the end the film says, what happens the rest of his life, and it's still not perfect. He still is a failure. But in the Jewish community, he's not revered because that's not their thing. But something about at the end of the film, it said he's on a path of righteousness or something like that, and he has a specific tree that he was allowed to plant and became obviously not a deity, but a huge hero, a legend almost in the Jewish community. It seemed like, in terms of Israel. And God, the ending too, it gets out of the make-believe and goes into real life, and you see all the survivors of the story that we're watching. And like I said, there's deaths galore, so there's not a lot of survivors, at least in terms of the group that we've watched throughout the film, but it's powerful, it's moving. I cannot recommend this film enough. I know it's now out of the theaters. Its 25th anniversary was just a weekend thing. But go and find it somehow. I would suggest do it, justly and not get it in certain ways just to support it. But however you can get your hands on it, I'd watch it. But only watch it one time because it is 3 hours. And it's 3 hours for the most part that is going to test you, that is going to push you and make you really think about the extent of what humans can do to each other. And it's going to punish you. It's going to punish you multiple times. And you're going to doubt watching it. You're going to doubt yourself. You're like, can I actually go and watch the rest of this film? I think a couple people in my theater had that thought of just, I don't think they could have finished it. Some had to leave. I'm not sure, because some people were gone for more than just like a quick bathroom visit. One old lady especially. So who knows? I might just be jumping the gun there, but yeah, it'll get you, and it's long too. It's 3 hours and 16 minutes. But I think for my film, about 4, 5, 6 of those minutes was Spielberg talking at the beginning, like I mentioned. But it's long. It is something you shouldn't watch. Was a guy, like a lot of people, might think that not Nazis are funny, but it's funny to joke about them. Like a person that watched Family Guy knows that it's a constant joke to like make fun of the Nazis and stuff like that. And so watching this film with someone like that who doesn't get the reality of the situation might not be a good idea. This is something you either watch by yourself or you watch with someone who has respect for history, respect for people, and wants to actually just see horror, to see hell almost. I cannot sing enough praises of this movie. In my ranking system, it's 0 out of 10, and I've given a 10 before on this channel, I believe. But wow, I shouldn't have given that film a 10 out of 10, whatever the hell it was. This film deserves a 10 out of 10, but since a 10 out of 10 already exists on this channel, this film's going to get a 12 out of 10. The 12 represents a certain number if you times it by 100, if I did my math right. After you watch the movie at the very end, you'll know what I'm talking about. You know why I gave it a 12 out of 10. But it's deserving, because even if you take out the emotions of what it makes you feel, and you look at it based just on movie practicality, it's still beyond perfect. Like, this is Spielberg at the top of his game, just doing all he can with everyone he has, and everyone he has is doing all they can. It's just so much. And I mentioned how long the movie is, but that's a credit to the movie itself of how long it is. The first 20 minutes is Schindler schmoozing Nazi officials. And at the end of the film, not nearly at the end of the film, but throughout the film, you can see that scene. Each second of that scene led to another important thing down the line in the movie. And there's scenes like that across the entire film. I could argue, probably, if I watched this again and got a little notes written down, I could probably argue to you that each scene is important. How many times in a movie that's maybe 2 hours long that we think, oh wow, that scene was not necessary? A good example would be maybe Transformers, The Revenge of the Fallen, or the whole pot brownie thing with the parents. That's not necessary, and that was like 10 minutes, give or take. We don't need that in a Transformers film. None of that exists in this film, though. I believe each minute is used for something else later in the film, and or just to build our relationship with Schindler and a bunch of the Jewish people that we're watching and hoping to survive. Each second builds either trust of the person, a love for the person, or a hatred for a person. And all those things are very important for character building. And just, God, I cannot sing the praises of this movie enough. But I also can't tell you how, like, just by using my words of how it could make you feel. You could watch this film and not feel anything, and I get that because, it's still a movie. You definitely have to be in the mindset of, like, putting yourself either in those shoes or trying to imagine the real life happenings of what happens in the film. But like I said, 12 out of 10. I will watch this film a couple more times in my life, Lord willing, and it's going to be rough to watch it again, especially since I assume the next couple times will be in the comfort of my own home, where I'm gonna cry probably, and I'm pretty sure the person I'm gonna watch it with is also gonna cry, and so we'll get to that bridge when we cross it. But for as of right now, I cannot recommend it enough. But like I mentioned before, either by yourself or with people that you could respect, that's in your circle of trust, that if you break down, they're there to comfort you, or if something's too serious, you guys can pause it, discuss something, or just like sit there in silence and just, get back into it slowly, work your way into it. Don't push yourself through this, especially if you're home. But I would say if you could go the entire process, like throughout. Obviously, pause if you're going to the bathroom. This is one that you should pause if you're going to the bathroom for. But just work your way through it. You'll get through it. You could enjoy this film. It is an enjoyable film in terms of seeing how everything works and how Spielberg, plays his cards and how the actors are. But after that, it's not an enjoyable film. It is rough. It'll get you. It'll tear you down. But at the end, there is hope. And I think that's the greatest message in a film, that even at the literal doors of hell, there is still hope. I like to point out that if you are a history buff, there are some scenes that'll get you before everyone else does. For instance, there is a train that pulls into a station, and just by looking at the building, like, my heart sank because I know what building that was. And if you're a historian, or if you've never seen this film, you could probably take a guess, since I've talked about the ghetto, Holocaust, and concentration camps. But the film tells you it like 40 seconds later, something like that. But that 40 seconds, if you know what that building is, that is like 40 haunting seconds of you, just you, maybe a couple other people in your audience in the theaters, or maybe one other person at home with you, know what that is. And there's scenes like that throughout the film, and you're just like, oh, please know, like, and especially if you know, like, some of the people in the trains that we've been building up a relationship with throughout the movie, and you're just like, no, please, no. Oh gosh, I can't keep on talking about this without getting emotional myself, or just maybe wanting to force myself to watch it again. So I'll stop it here, but just know that it is a great film. It's probably one of the greatest films I've ever seen in my life. Even if I take out the message and how moving the film is and how real it feels, it's still an amazing movie. So if you can't get past the whole rough Holocaust thing, you can still appreciate the art that is the movie. And if you can't appreciate the movie that is the art, then you can appreciate the story that it tries to tell. But that's it for me. I'm Clark Addison. I review entertainment because I care. And I'll see you guys in the next one.